What's popular YouTube? Another day, another demo. Today we're going to be looking at a Patreon demo, and it's submitted by Red One. And for those of you who don't know, we have a tier on the Patreon. It's $100. I will study your demo, whether it's a team demo, individual demo. Ideally, something that has some aspect of team play, so I could talk about more than just mechanics and stuff. And it's going to be a match on that they played on Inferno. Red One himself played well, had a good match. The game went to overtime. There were a lot of mistakes on CT side, but we're going to look at both halves. So the way this is going to break down, this is going to be a little bit of a longer one, is I've already watched this demo. I've taken notes. And we're going to go to some of the key rounds and go over what we need to go over, talk a bit about individual decisions that Red One has questions about, talk about the T side and the organization of the team as a whole. The great thing is he's also the IGL, so we can put some accountability on him for the way that the team operates and talk about some of the good things they do, some of the things they could work on. And then we're going to go through and discuss maybe some other individuals in the demo as well as just some team stuff. And I'm really happy. I'm excited to do this. Of course, Red One, paid for this demo to be done, but I think it's just a really great service for the channel because looking at demos that aren't pro level demos, there's a lot more to talk about when it comes to mistakes, setups, changes that can be made. It's a lot more relatable. In pro matches, there's a lot that goes on that we don't get to see past histories of the team, specific anti-strats. There's a lot less mistakes because it's pro level. So this is could actually be a lot more helpful to watch a demo like this and have me talk about it than to watch a pro level match. So here's part of the message that he sent when submitting the demo. A little bit about me. I am currently on an 11-3 IM team. So that's the intermediate level in ESEA, one step up from Open. Team which went 15-1 last season in Open, which is a fantastic season, of course. Out of 16 matches, they won 15. Had a player drop out during playoffs, and we got stuck in IM. So I guess they didn't, maybe like round 2 playoffs, something like that. And then I played competitively for about 5 years, but I had a bad habit of skipping seasons when I was younger, and I never got to play to my full potential in higher leagues due to that. I'm the team's op/IGL. I find myself playing more of a support op than anything else, although I am a rifler at heart. I plan on playing with this roster for a while as we had a lot of success in the last 8 months, and I fully believe we can compete at higher levels. That's awesome. I'm going to talk more about that, but you don't have faith in your team and make a roster change. You have faith in your lineup. I love that. Okay, I love that. So that's really good. Teams can get better, people can get better, but you won't if you don't believe in your lineup. So that's awesome. He said, to be honest, I demo review a shit ton. Amazing as well. However, I've never had someone analyze my own play other than myself. So that's what we're going to help with, an extra pair of eyes. And honestly, even if you have someone, if you have someone like completely random, like another one of your teammates, they might be able to see stuff and help give you an extra perspective. Just an extra pair of eyes in anything that you do can always be helpful. So let's be Red One's extra pair of eyes here. And before we get into the demo, let's try not to be experts in the comments. Everybody plays at different levels. There's probably very few people that are playing at a higher level than this, I would imagine. But even if you are, of course, I want to encourage people to allow these demos to be public. So let's be respectful about the stuff that we watch. I just want to put that as a disclaimer. I used to do a lot of demo reviews on the YouTube channel, and I also want to demo review all levels. Matchmaking, anything from silver to global. I can help out a lot. So I don't want people to be I don't want this to be like some kind of runway show or something, criticizing a model. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we don't need your opinion on like how you feel about them or like your overall general sentiment about the player themselves. Let's try not to make it too personal. And but I'm not gonna like block out comments or disable comments or anything like that. But this is just a consistent thing I see on YouTube with demo reviews. Let's have some tact and recognize that people submitting the demo reviews are putting themselves out there. And it's not helpful if I can't be honest about things that happen on the round. And it's not encouraging if, there's a bunch of armchair analysts in the comments as well. So let's just be aware of that when handing out criticism or writing down comments. Okay, so we're going to talk about a bunch of things in this demo. And And honestly, it's not like there's a bunch of stuff and a whole list of negatives that we're going to talk about in this demo that are terrible. There's a lot of good stuff. I'll say first things first. The team we're looking at, of course, is Mach 5. Red 1, number 6 here. And the team they're playing against, they're okay. They did a lot of stuff. They could have done a lot of stuff better. But what we're going to see is a lot of talent here. I mean, in terms of the fragging is very good. Here, let me just pause this for a second and turn the volume. Just because we don't actually need that much volume. And on the T side, I saw a lot of good stuff. So originally, I wasn't going to talk about it too much if we could skip. But because I found a lot of good stuff to talk about the T side, I just wanted to go over things. And we're going to skip back and forth between his perspective, his team's perspective here. So let's run moving ahead with an execute. Okay, right there. Sank does not need to be clearing top CT. He moves over to here on his entry pathing, and his teammate can trade that, but it's not actually his job to be turning around for that, to clear that out. And the entry pathing does need to be a bit tighter. So we're going to see, I think, another example of this right now. A couple of good kills and utility being used in this round. And I just want to go high up here. Okay. So first of all, we look at our first man in, and I think there's some degree of confidence to where you guys feel like there's no one else in the site, but ideally you're crossing in front of the CT smoke over to coffins and then jumping up coffins, and your second guy will be holding for a boost on, or looking for a boost on CT, or reacting for the boost on CT. Not everybody getting tunnel visioned on it, not everybody watching it. Now, this is just such a key part of the entering on Inferno, and what I've seen in this demo is that you guys do it differently every single time. Sometimes you jump up oranges over here. Sometimes one person does cross. Sometimes they jump up, and then you molly quad, which is good. But ideally, when you guys are getting into the site, you need your first two guys to be a little bit closer together. And need your second guy to react to the guy up on this boost. Your first guy should not be responsible for that, though. He should keep his eyes forward for the site for the next player who peeks. Okay. One thing I noticed in this match was there's a lot of tunnel visioning, and a lot of times where it felt like everybody was putting too many responsibilities upon themselves. We're going to see when we're spreading the map here. The protocols that you guys have for taking banana control are really good. So the mollies that you're using are all fine. The way that you're rushing top banana is good most of the time. We're seeing that be actually very, very good. And I honestly don't have a problem with the way you guys are defaulting. If we're going to talk about this game as a way to figure out why you guys are losing games, and we could just focus on, what you're doing badly, I wouldn't talk so much about the way that you guys run your default. It's fine. It's not the reason that you lost so many rounds. So here, that's bad right there. This was your first man in. He ends up not being your first man across. Next time you get flashed as the entry, too bad. Run across. Just give your teammates space so they can run in, because if you guys are dry running execute and you're doing it based on the timings, and your first guy doesn't go with the flash timings, then he doesn't make a certain amount of space by the time a flash wears off. If you throw a God flash or a CT flash, whatever it is, and then suddenly a CT regains vision, and your next T player that's supposed to be coming in is late. So now that guy can die when this could have been a distraction, your blind player coming in, and would have a better time getting across the site. So there's been a couple situations now where different things have happened, but I want more deliberate commitment from your players who are entering. I want tighter spacing on your first couple of players when you're getting across, and I want you to keep following the same protocols. Maybe have your third player jump up oranges, Your first two players cross. When you get to coffins, molly quad, jump up. After the molly on quad, the second player can kill the guy who's in CT spawn. But start being a bit more deliberate about the way that you're executing on the sites, because you guys are getting up to top banana control, looking good. After that, we're seeing a bunch of other problems. Okay, so let's see how we approach top mid. So far, we worked mid just fine. This is actually a really good molly that you throw. So we see the Opper in this situation is falling back because of this porch molly that I believe read through. And he can't come through, so then you get top mid control. That's good. Behind the smoke, this will happen sometimes. This is fine as long as people are not getting too confused here. And then now we're going to want to have our halls guy come up. Okay. Halls guys can start working up. All right. Now pay attention to the spacing again. Play it slow here. Okay. Your halls guy is really important if he's alone. He should be trying to refrag players either on the site and pit. Look at the twist demo to look at some of how the halls lurking works. So these angles are good. We see the pit guy dies. That's fine. This is good actually. The pit got opened up so he can peek out. And now everybody else, come on. Make sure this trade happens. There should be not another kill coming out. That was a little bit close. Okay, you got the pit kill. Let's keep the entry pathing tight, all right? You got the pit kill. Your halls guy completely exposed himself to grab another frag for you. Get on the site. Everything else is just fine. The way that you made sure the Opera was mollied off, they had no play after that. A lot of the times at this level, teams are putting a lot of stock into one tactic. And if you call it the one tactic, they fall apart. They don't know how to readjust. They don't know what to do next. So you throw a good molly like that, you don't get opt in one situation, you throw one good flash. Sometimes that's the whole round. You break up on a passive setup and they have no way to adjust. So that's what I'm saying. Generally the way that you guys are working the map is pretty good. But when it comes to executing onto the sites, it seems like everyone turns too much into the same kind of player, if that makes sense. We need to make sure at all times that you have somebody thinking about where the next kill's coming from. You guys have entry protocols. Your entry fragger can be a different guy every time. He just knows what he just needs to, everyone just needs to know what you're supposed to do as that entry. Okay. So we'll see here. Another situation where you're going to try to work up. The trades are just fine. You get onto the site. This is good. Round 7 is a wrap. Again, you guys have been pretty successful taking top banana. There's actually a push down mid. I think this is dealt with very well by you, Red. Yeah. 2 kills in the smoke on the players pushing. And now this is just fine. But yeah, until this smoke expires, this is a mistake. I think you come jumping through the smoke with your knife out. At a minute 22, 4v3, you haven't established a top mid. Maybe Fax is crazy for being here, but I want you guys to think about the ways you can lose the round at this point, right? This should be very easy. And now suddenly, Red dies. Fac might die here, but he's already dinked Sang, okay? And in fact, Fac gets that next kill as well. It doesn't mean you're not going to win the round, but at a minute 15, you shouldn't be running like you have 20 seconds to get to a bomb site. This is also a very doable situation right here. That's a big opening. If this round ends up not working out well, we already know why. It's because of earlier situations. We always forget what happened earlier on when it comes to the clutch. Everyone just talks about what happened in the 1v1. But this round had nothing to do with the 1v1. even if you win the round here, oh, a little bit of an awkward duel. And that's a round that would have been won. We look at a game that goes to overtime. It's situations like that where you have to look for the errors. Unforced errors. Okay, so we're moving fast. Let's see how red goes for the entry. See, red eats a flash. He keeps going. This is good. Perfect. Get to coffins. Molly out quad. This is great. He should have just continued on. Obviously, you're waiting to see if they peaked. I don't know whose smoke this is, but that messed it up for whoever was trying to trade. I think this could have been a CT smoke. I don't know. If it was a T smoke, it's obviously a mistake because Sank and whoever is on the side of the smoke is in a position to trade the players coming through coffins. But because you threw a molly, you're waiting for the quad guy to peak. The guy comes out of CT. There's no one watching that for you. Would have been free. So, but if it was a CT smoke, good, and it looks like it might be. But if it's a T smoke, you don't want that. Okay. All right. So round 10, round of interest here. This one's an interesting one. So this is executing without control. So we see that they have a aggressive setup on lane. Last time you mollied this out, and you go down 4 to 5, but you don't freak out too much, which I really appreciate because some teams just start taking way too many risks just because it's 5v4. As everyone tells them, you got to do something. You got to do something. It's like, well, it's a huge chance that other team will make a mistake. So it's good that people are not just dry peeking stuff and making the lead even worse. But here's the mistake. You guys have been doing a good job of taking bracket control. But on this round, instead of getting them back off of brackets, we're looking at utility. You got 3 Molotovs here. You guys try to execute to the site without taking any top bracket control. It appears like you have control, but you don't have any. And that's a situation where if you guys had thrown half of your, one of your default nades or something like that into getting them back off of, or isolating your, like throwing your same Molotov you've been throwing, so it's not a tell, which is conditioning, right? Let's say if you never throw that lane Molotov, but you heard the flicker of a scope on lane, if you've never thrown it before and you throw that Molotov, then you might cause a rotate. So you may not have wanted to cause a rotate when you're already down 5v4, but since you've thrown that Molotov before, you make it a consistent thing. You keep throwing that Molotov, keep punishing that opper, then they can't use that as a read, right? No one wants to call a rotate when you've already cleared out top B, you throw that Molotov every round, it's not a read anymore. So if you had just thrown that Molotov, isolated the guy under bracket, you wouldn't have thought too far. You guys wouldn't have thought too far ahead on that exec. I want to make sure that everything that we talk about is a deliverable, right? Not just like something conceptually important, but something that you can take with you into your next match. This is another mistake. So this is what I was talking about with everybody turning into the same kind of player. So there needs to be a protocol here when you guys have 2 smokes on you. In fact, one of you, both of you in front for that Molotov to get extinguished when you're going for a rush like this, because that's almost 100 damage that it just dealt when you guys are trying to wrap. If you guys are going for the arch wrap, I would watch the position that the flash that Kenny S throws for the moto wrap and the Kenny S demo on the channel. That would be the best thing to do. And then here, committing through is fine. Just keep going. Create space, create space. So this is good. You break in. I think the only thing is that just because you see someone doesn't mean the job is done. Whoever's in front needs to get used to not stopping. Let your fraggers behind get a kill. If that guy in pit's not getting the kill instantly, and you can keep making space while he's fighting somebody else, keep going, right? Just keep going. I think we see a lot at this level that players have very good aim, and also really keen on making individual plays. That's a great combo for pistoling rounds, right? Like, you want to have that energy on pistoling rounds, and that's what makes the eco so possible, probably in a lot of your scrims and stuff. That's because this is what you were built to do. It's like, take individual duels, move quickly, and swarm. That's great. Where it needs to change a little bit more is on the... People need to put on different hats on the rifle rounds and understand where their role is. Not necessarily their role on the team, but their role in the round. I definitely don't believe in, having a set entry fragger on one team. If you want to do it like that, it's totally fine. But I think if you want to be the best team possible, you're going to have a few different people get used to entering, wearing different hats at different times. Because this game is situational. And especially when it comes to mid-rounding and stuff, like, people are just going to have to do different things at different times and be used to that. So again, it's good. You guys are establishing a ton of control. This is an awesome round, right? You can take your pick on either site. For you, you're not going to know exactly... They're limiting the amount of information you can get now, but this also means they have to gamble to be able to read what you're doing. A or B are both fine in this spot. Just make sure someone here is playing anti-flash, which I think is the only thing they need to worry about. And we can have someone get on the corner of the smoke. This is good. This is really good. Okay, now we'll see how the entering goes here with Sank. So that's really good. He dodges the flash. He gets in, gets the kill. And we don't need to see how that plays out further. So this goes down. And here, no one's watching this. So this is not only is this not smoked, no one threw a molly, and no one's even watching it. And Kunta hits a crazy shot on red when it could have been a free kill. And that molly shouldn't have come down in response to the shot, right? It should have gone down preemptively. You guys should have established all your control first. So, hey, maybe that becomes a 2v2 in the situation if you're not careful. And, of course, we can't be outcome-oriented. We have to think about that when we look at these rounds. So on the bright side, a lot of the problems are really fixable. And on the other bright side, players are fragging. So it's not a lot of rounds that I'm seeing being lost because people can't frag. That's good. I can see why you believe in the roster. Also, in terms of just the basics, like picking what site to go to, like the calls are good. The black and white of, do we want to go A, do we want to go B? On a map like Inferno, where you just have to make that decision sometimes with somewhat limited information, the calls are good. So again, we're going to take a look at this entering, and the nades are all perfect. Not blocking yourself out of the corner here. We're going to hear that tag, and now I think you're anticipating a push. I love the pre-fire. That's actually very good. And we don't find a trade. And Viper gets 3. And here, I actually don't want to say that you guys did anything totally wrong. Of course, you just need to be able to get that frag, but handling the first kill was good, and the second guy just peeked dry and won 3 duels, so of course, you don't need somebody to tell you should have won that trade. Here, this is fine. Let's see how the post plant looks. Oh yeah, well, there's not a lot you can do here. So, no utility to work with, and you just got to gamble and hope that no one's coming banana, so it's fine. Not going to be an easy round to win. And we'll move on to the last round. This round was a bit of an execution mistake. B doesn't go so hot. Banana control. So 4v5, I have honestly... You guys haven't been punished in a 4v5 taking some kind of liberty on a push or anything. Everyone's been pretty calm, waiting for a mistake. I like that. I like that. I genuinely like kind of the first half of your guys' rounds when you're establishing. I think it's like the right amount of aggression. You guys look very comfortable. And now we're going to look at a situation where you do establish top bracket control this time, which is great. It was the 4v5 to contrast. Look at this clearing stuff out. Look, there's no rotations from the CTs, right? They're seeing nades that you throw normally. They don't want to move just yet, so that's great. And then you move into a player in halls. But here is a situation where one of your nade kit should be sitting at mid. Okay, your nade kit should be sitting at mid and throwing a flash for you guys halls. It shouldn't be Hilson here. It should be somebody else. And you should be... It should be, I think you had a lurk smoke thrown. And I guess Max Seps has been the Halls lurker. But in this situation, if he had thrown Moto smoke and Halls flash, then you could have had a better time killing that guy right there. So I would think a little bit more pragmatically in that situation. You guys had established a good amount of control. And here Moto's not even smoked this whole time. And you had a guy ready to eat a flash to get traded out on the site. Easy round win there if you throw that properly. It's not even a strat, right? Just basic grenades. Just make sure your guy, just make sure that's called. Okay. So nice 1v1-1, and you guys take the pistol and have get a small lead here on CT side. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about the CT side, how to play Arch a bit better, some of the things that could be going better. So one thing here, Red, is that there's a lot of crack spotting, a lot of smoking into middle, and I feel like there are a lot of windows of timing to die. So this is something I would pay attention to. A lot of times people now will crack spot mid, but not quite as big. And you have to peek quite big to actually throw the smoke into mid. And instead of smoking into middle, they're just smoking arch off. Okay, and then you can spam, you can rotate around. But let's say you have a setup where you have, instead of this cubby setup, you have 2 on A, and then yourself a spotting arch. If you smoke arch off, just off of this wall right under the green window on your right here, and just bounce the smoke off there because that's a lot safer to do. And then rotate over to Arch, rotate over to Moto, and you have 2 players on lane. You guys are safe on A. And this way you don't create a timing for yourself when you're kind of crack spotting here at mid. Also, let's say they do a burst out mid through the smoke. If you have the smoke here at Arch, you can safely watch that smoke. But the smoke at mid, you cannot swing into that smoke. So if they pop through that smoke right now, you would have to throw this Molotov down and fall back. Whereas if you had smoked arch here, just bounce it off the wall. First of all, they wouldn't randomly dink you flying through the smoke. And then you could actually watch that smoke without a Molotov and stand there and spam through that smoke if they don't come through. So even though they would throw that smoke themselves, if there was their plan to go through arch, that would actually be a better strat. And if you have 2 guys on lane, you can rotate around to Moto and just watch the lurk and see if they come through. So here you end up throwing the Molotov down as well. And you're trying to get info on mid, which is one thing I like, that you guys actually always have a fair bit of control. I really like that. I think on the CT side, you guys did a lot of good. I was really happy to see that wasn't one of the kind of issues or problems that I have, because one of my pet peeves is just how many times the team is just lacking a lot of information and gambling when they don't need to. But it's going to come down to something of a hole, then it's fine. You know, allow the bomb to go down, but you know, it's not a big deal. Overall, things went really well there. So again, one thing I don't know is how much you are going for this double arch setup because of the demo, or because you're just waiting for that one round to come so you can go and change it up. But it doesn't matter. It can be a good thing to do. So there, see how much of an issue this smoke is. You have to stand wide, not be swinging back, and be peaked wide enough. Those three conditions to be able to smoke middle. So there, you create a timing and you throw a smoke that you can't even watch easily. So I would rethink that. Yeah. Also, if you're not planning to actually throw the smoke in. So here, I think we've got a little bit of middle control. And we want to have a cheat over. There's nothing bad about this right now because you've got a halls guy watching, and you've got halls and lane covered, and you've got this arch covered. This is totally fine. A very good setup here on CT side. So this is perfect, and you call for a flash. Good. Okay, you got him in CT. Okay, now here, this is a very good thing that teams are doing now. A lot more is splitting arch to B, because some teams are leaving arch wide open, and it's just very. It used to be considered risky, right, for the T's to do this a little bit more because there's a lot more ways to die. But once they cross into CT spawn, I want you to slow down here in library. Really take your time, because I would consider this a very scary situation. So, number one, what you guys should be doing as a team is your two lane guys should be retaking lane control, okay? Because you want to make, first of all, you know it's going to be a split to B. You already got this info because you played it pretty quick. In this situation, if you don't know, or if they've walked up and you missed timing, you didn't see them, your two guys on A site should be retaking middle control, okay? Being cognizant of if there's going to be a halls lurker, and then retaking middle control. And once you retake brackets, then you can rotate however you want. Maybe going down mid is not safe. Maybe you think it is safe. Whatever. You can make your decision from there. But you retake middle control with the two of those players, and then you play this very slowly coming into library. You're trying to catch one person if possible, but you're not trying to overextend. And you're trying to assume that they're looking to catch you rotating here. This is like a prime opportunity to get a free kill, right? So here, it gets played a bit too quickly. And your middle guy, your two A guys could have been at B a little bit sooner. You could have been slower about trying to find that kill, and that was a couple of ways that you could have won this round. That was a lot, but I think that's really important. Okay, so basically for the full eco, and a lot of this, don't worry about all the stuff that's going on the screen. This is just for everybody else. When we're watching a demo like this, pay more attention to the mini-map than anything else. So what's awesome, if on the mini-map, there's nothing going on at B. So this is a really good round for the CTs. You've got someone at every tight choke point. You have a crossfire here. This is just a fantastic setup to stop an A hit here. And they do pretty much the absolute worst thing possible. They don't smoke front sight. They don't have a Hall's guided trade. They don't have proper flashes for you guys. They just literally get bulldozered down. And good on you for stacking. So now it's just going to be a save for the T's. And then let's see what's going on here. Round 20. Okay. It's a little bit... Okay. This makes a bit more sense, but this is still not really covering... If someone peeked you and out of halls, you're dead. Massups can't save you, so that's a bit better of an angle. You can see he's a bit uncomfortable about how to hold this. And now there's a bit of a redundancy. Yeah, okay. So I think one thing I noticed in this is that you guys are a bit more comfortable holding pit than doing a site setup, which is fine. Play on halls, and play pit a little bit more often, I would say. Unless you're really having trouble with it, I think that should be your guys' bread and butter. Because I think we see a little bit of claustrophobia on the CT side with some of your site setups. A little bit uncomfortable. Oops. Just control escaped out of that. Okay, so you've got the opening frag down B. This is awesome. You guys are in such a marvelous position. You absolutely want to fast rotate back. And I don't know if it was a teammate dink here, but this is super solid. I mean, I like you even peeking here. This is good as well. Perfect to use that as a response. And then to try to not get caught by the halls guy. And then watch, this is just fine. Everybody's in a really good spot. This should also be one free frag. Uh-oh, bit dangerous. Okay, that's tough. They threw a good flash, and now you just... Oh, actually, this is a really sick play. This is the round. This is a great play. Now, you'd think after a play like that, this doesn't go to overtime, but I guess again. That was yeah, that's a situation where, like, that's the most Counter-Strike thing ever, right? You could have a good setup, but they could still break it open, and then you have a really sick round two from one person to bring it back. You're not going to win games without that, so I actually think that's an important part of Counter-Strike. Okay, so here, good amount of info. And yeah, your teammate, I think it's fine. I'm not exactly sure, like, I don't want to say it's fine that you died or that your teammates died on B, but I think with the amount of info that you had, there was rotation that was just about to come out. And if I'm not mistaken, let me take a second look at this. Oh, fuck me. Did I just do that? Hopefully I didn't mess this up too bad. 14 to 12. Okay. It might be safer just to skip through this way. Let's take a look at this one more time. Just to make sure nothing could have been done better here. So here we're holding, just in case of the wide. This is fine. Bad smoke. See how this smoke affects how you play now? Because it's too poofy. It needs to be deeper. Because now you're worried about quad, or you're worried about, first of all, they can run out through the other side of it, and you're now worried about boiler. In fact, mid didn't even need to be smoked there, right? I think both questions need to be asked. Why are you throwing your nades? And also, so in this spot, okay, so this is the only thing that could have happened, all right? So you guys have so much control watching mid, which is awesome. And now maybe you don't want to leave your spot. And what you can do is, if you want, you know, you could be the one to rotate in this situation, but you could also have somebody else leave if you are at all worried about B. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're in a bad spot here, especially with you guys being active about the utility you're throwing on banana. And I think you're about to make a decision to either reclaim top banana or get the info there. So honestly, I don't think this was a bad round. The only thing I would say there is yeah, just one point about the smokes that you're throwing in mid, and that's it. Just basically both asking yourself when you're throwing utility, why are you throwing the utility? That's something that Zonic said that I think was a lot of the Astralis players cited as a key thing that's helped them improve. Is every time they've watched their own demo, that he's told them to ask themselves why they're throwing every piece of utility that they throw in the demo. In the match, don't doubt yourself. You know what I mean? Go off what you know. But in the when you're watching the demo for the next match, try to confront yourself about that. To both be more proactive about utility and also to be careful about not throwing too much. So here is a situation where things get a tiny bit awkward. So this smoke goes down preemptively, which is actually a cool smoke by Mosseps that I think I said his name like 3 different times here. He can spot them jumping across and then shoot them, I guess. But they don't execute right away, so it's tough. On the one hand, I really like the idea of preemptively throwing grenades and utility because you would rather throw it too early than too late. That's awesome. It's only $300, so you might as well make sure you use it in a round. But it doesn't get used here, and then the trades just don't go so well. So you've got good info once again on B, and this was a little bit of a mistake. So you guys actually have a rock solid setup on the A site. You have the crossfire inside the site. An extra player even. It's a little bit of redundancy, but you've got backup insurance for the players who are in the site right here. This is obviously not a useful angle to watch because you have a teammate on Arch. Want to say that Hilson plays this well with how he came in, smoked, flashed outside here. I'll actually go back and watch this. I'll watch it after this actually. So setup's great on A. Basically what I'm saying, you guys are reinforced. You're getting info on B as well. But here another situation where the only way you could lose a round is like this, right? And this isn't the kill that loses the round. They don't end up going B off of this, and you guys also don't over-rotate in this spot. But the issue is that, number one, you doubt yourself a little bit more. Number two, you lose a little bit of that reinforcement on the B site. Number three, you're just down a player. So in terms of a retake, you're a little bit weaker on that regard. But your A site setup is still pretty solid here. Problem is you've only got a scout and pit, which actually does really well to get this one kill. And then the trades are just not there. So on as an insurance policy, this is for 14 rounds. This is a situation that would have been very expensive for the other team. If you had the extra man on A, you didn't lose your B player in that spot. This is why you went and got info in the first place. So you could overstack in case the entries are too good. Just going to go back to the same round. And again, this is all really good. So in this spot, it's Hilson who has smoke flash, and we'll just see how he deals with it. So this kind of flash, how he throws this flash to catch the jump out, it's not to explain how you should have played Arch, but just a better example of what I mean when, it's better to bounce your smokes off these walls and cover Arch as opposed to cover inside of mid. The situation specifically because he's in CT and he's, he feels pressure. This is now his mid, right? He's a little bit more worried about them coming through Arch, but being able to cover this way was really good. In terms of the way he dealt with the spot, I liked it. This is a spot, of course, if there was a bit more utility, it would have been nice, but honestly, it just comes down to frags. Like, we wouldn't be talking about this round as much if everybody traded out fairly. Just in the future, since you're opping, The only thing that needs to happen in that spot is thinking about how you can lose the round. This is okay because you're ecoing. You need to take a risk. You need to get the fuck out of there. He grabs the gun and goes. So this is good. It's not going to be an easy round to win no matter what. So we'll see how this is played. A couple things that are good when Red is opping. He's not scared. He's getting information. The calling is really good on the CT side where you guys are always thinking about what you don't know, which is awesome. Some things a little bit over risky. Some redundancies on the A side setup. Just talking about some stuff we've already talked about right now. And some safer ways to throw grenades are a few things that would have already won this game. Already won this game. No doubt. So Massep's feeling uncomfortable about going for that peek. So he finds a new angle, which is great. On the right here, this guy hits a jumping AK peek. Don't even know what that was. They literally leave this open, which is hilarious. And then I love this push, but just a small, unfortunate window of time. Gun tries to get picked up and recovered, but you don't win. And this game is getting a little bit too close for comfort. At 13-11. So I haven't talked anything about B grenades because you guys have been doing really good on getting info, not dying for the most part, establishing bottom B control when you want it. Love to see that. I think your protocols out of spawn and all the stuff you're dry running on both T and CT side in the first 20 or 30 seconds are great. And it's kind of one of those things where yes, there could be stuff that, you know, we could add or change, but if it's working, I think that's awesome. I wouldn't worry about fixing that because there's other things. So here's another situation where Red, you like to get information, and I really like that. But what I also see is a ton of windows of opening where you can just get timinged, okay? And there's a certain amount and extent to which you can blame, damn, just barely, oh, I was just about to, or with this, whatever. But when we look at this round, we're seeing millions and millions of small timings. And I think this op catches you right when you're about to throw a flash, yeah. But that's the window. And also, that was a flash going into middle, right? So more like the flash that we saw. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Hilson, who threw more of a passive flash off the wall in case they ran through the smoke. A preventative flash that would have been a better idea in that situation. Because if you can't watch if you can't watch the person that gets blinded, or you can't peek the person who gets blinded, then that flash has a lot less value. Let's say they're going to commit to their entry and you throw a really good flash that catches them swinging on porch, something that bounces and like lands while you're turned around. Then you have an opportunity to kill someone who's blind if they're a good team and they continue on. But all you can do if you flash them inside of middle is slow them down. And open up a timing, of course, right there where you can get killed. So it looks unfortunate, but another situation where the call is good for a good stack. And this guy's not on your team, but I always see stuff like this where you see a little bit of this, like there's so much discipline to that initial kill, and then as soon as you get that kill, it's like boom, knife out, start running, start clearing shit. Like if he still plays it slowly, still clears things out, he can have so much more impact. This actually comes down to a 1v1. Oh my god, you guys actually win this. Hold on, Hilson ace. Okay, we're gonna do Hilson a favor and watch that. That's so funny because I'm talking about how Viper could have had way more impact there. That's this thing where it looks like, okay, there's he gets a kill, and then it's like the round's over for him. He can do whatever he wants. He can go deathmatch, pulls a knife out, starts running through. It's like, no, the job's not necessarily done. Somebody else might jump you. Like, your team is still committing through B. Let them work. Slow it down. I think I might have skipped back an extra round. Let's see. All right, let's check it out. Oh, so he's the guy who trades this too, then. Yeah, okay. And then it becomes the AK who wins. Oh, I love the pre-fire. I love the patience. That's sick. That's beautiful. I see why you believe in this team. Uh-oh. Aggressive lane setup. Things get a bit hairy, but you guys are in a pretty good spot right here. You guys are still holding on to this. This is fine. This is perfect. Watching that is perfect. And now just kind of play for yourselves in this spot, really. It's 2-on-1, so I think this should be just fine. That got a bit hairy with them just kind of ramboing through the smoke like that. It's insane. But I'm going to assume it's all good. Oof. Bit awkward. Oh boy. That's unfortunate. Another round that could have been won. That's just a misplayed 2v1. Well, I'm sure I don't have to explain how. I love this mid setup. Extremely strong. Pro teams run into this all the time. G2 is doing this the best if you want a team to watch. G2 doing this on pistol rounds. They're doing it on anti-ecos, on rifles. Nelson just listening, of course. Okay. You all come in. That's fine. That was a good round. So far, it looks like it's been more comfortable and found more openings on B. I would think about that, Red. Because you can have lots of value, of course, opping B. Especially if you want to do the 4-1 setups that you guys like to get into, which I think is ideal, of course. Okay, so this is fine. You want to fall back, but you still have you still have ideas here at mid. The way that you guys have played this does not make me uncomfortable at all. This was a spot where Moseps could have. This was the issue. Okay, so right now on A, we've got a Molotov here, which is good. But we've got the full nade set here. But the problem is when you play Graveyard, you're going to find it very uncomfortable to use the full nade set here. I think this is where the issue becomes. Also, I don't know. Not sure why you guys aren't playing Pit. It could be preference, whatever. But I think Pit should be used more in your CT halves. Balcony for first kill. Pit fall back. Somebody to play in Pit the whole time and smoke themselves out of the Molotov. Pit is very, very, very key, and it just shouldn't be overlooked. And it would get abused more if people weren't getting better at killing the Pit guy. But at this level, and for many levels above this level, I think Pit should be used a lot more. The issue, of course, here in Graveyard is you've got a great wall right beside you, but you're uncomfortable as soon as you get spotted. So you don't have a spot to throw your smoke down. It should have gotten right-clicked after you take your first fight. And you should basically just be dumping your nades as soon as you take your first fight here, Moseps. But of course, it's very, very uncomfortable, and a guy comes to clear you right off the bat, and there is a lot of confusion on the site with your guys' setup here. So we'll take a look at this round again. And if we look back on this demo, and I'm sure if you just look back in your memory from this game, you've had more success with pit player than you have with your site setup. So I would just think about that when it comes to their lane hits. You actually destroyed their lane hit with all pistols once because you were playing pit slash balcony. It was one of those spots I wouldn't over analyze, right? Like if it works and they haven't figured out what to do, then I think in general keep abusing it, because we're also not going to see the ability to adapt. As easily from teams at this level. So keep abusing what works as much as possible. I just did a video on Glaive that's going to come out on Monday, I think the day before this, that talks more about conditioning and keeping it simple, doing what works. So here we're smoking mid. It's not exactly creating value. You're not going to reclaim mid. And Sanks wants to make sure you guys don't get wrapped on Arch. I think here's where he would have been more useful over at Moto right at this moment. Rotation starting to get over, which is great. Molly comes down, which is great. This flash to support is great, actually. And I think he comes through and just doesn't win a duel, which is unfortunate. And so also here, that's when it's just too late at that point. So not playing Grave there, maybe better. Maybe playing Grave if you're low on grenades. Abusing the fact that they haven't been able to deal with your pit slash halls. Balcony player, whatever. And yeah, and trying not to have redundancies in the setup on your CT side. Like identify that, fix that in the round. And so here, we're going to get a repeat actually of the same round, it looks like. They're trying to sell some kind of fake on this, but yeah. So now you have pit, you have halls. When you perfect, you have the guy in sight. Oh, Molotov in hand, 20 seconds. Oh, beautiful. And this will, you know, they're going to have to run through something that they don't want to run through. See, Viper's trying to get an opening here to help out his teammates, and you're just shooting on the side, and this is just how it should go. This is where the round should have ended, right there. Okay, so that's just a perfect example right there. And this game goes to OT, but we're also at an hour. And there's so much good stuff. Okay. Recap. On T side, tighter spacing. As soon as your entry fragger, whoever it is in front, puts on the entry fragger hat, make sure they're committing. When it's entering B, make sure you're creating space. Your half flash, keep going. Second guy in, go. First guy, don't clear the boost in CT spawn. The reason is, I asked, who was it? I think I asked Apex or Alex about this. He basically just said, like, you have to make a decision. The reason that guy gets a kill so often these days is because there's too many angles on the site that you have to clear out. And it's better to respond to the guy boosted who's going to be there a little bit more rarely than someone on the site. So your first guy in, get the pool like we saw with Red, Molly, Quad. Have the second guy react to kill the guy boosted. Stay close to the first guy so you can trade. You want a situation where if someone does peek Quad, if someone does peek second oranges, if someone does peek the pillar, the fountain, whatever, you can just refrag it. But don't send your first guy out to die without the refragger there. And the first guy, make sure you commit. Okay, so two things. When you get in your execution, first guy be totally selfless, create space. You want to watch somebody at your level, watch like Curry. Watch a demo Curry on Triumph. He takes it to the extreme with how much space he creates. It's really good, exaggerated. He just puts so much emphasis on it, creating space. Just watch him play it. Whoever's going in first, make sure you're selfless in that way, whoever it is. your flashes and shit, everything you dry run and your execute is not useful if your players don't commit to the timing that's supposed to meet the flashes. All right, remember that. The one round you executed without control on mid in the 4v5, from conditioning, remember, you're throwing your Molotov down to get the Alper back. If you're scared they're going to rotate, remember that if you're throwing the Molotov every round, they're not going to assume that you're taking the site. Don't be scared to do stuff that's part of your default if you've been doing it in the past. If you never Molotov lane for the Opera to fall back and you do it all of a sudden, yes, you should be scared they're going to rotate. That's the whole thing about conditioning. But you don't want to execute into a site exec with all your nades to design to smoke out pit and flash the guy on site, and they're all sitting at lane waiting for you to come up mid. Smoke out for a molly when you're rushing mid or rushing B. That's pretty simple. When you got 3 in halls and 1 at mid, make sure your guy at mid has a nade set, smoke moto, flash for halls. On your CT side, don't create timing windows red. The way you op is really good, where it's proactive. You're having impact. Your guys' CT setup's actually quite good. I like them a lot. You always have like something at mid, something at arch, something at B, some kind of info. I love that. Bottom B control is going great. Keep that going. Don't change a thing about that. Just start getting the mindset of like, when you are in a really good spot, how can you lose the round? There's a lot of situations in that second half where, yes, you had a great map, but if you actually didn't overplay your hand a couple of times, the game would have been over a lot more quickly. Watch for redundancies on the A site when you guys are doing your setups. Make sure you're keeping each other accountable, whether you just look over your teammate watching something or you communicate it. Make sure you're just not wasting a moment in a CT setup. Use spots that are good. If they haven't figured out how to deal with them, use them again. Let them to be the ones to show you that your setup doesn't work. Don't play yourself by using a new setup just to keep it fresh. It's good to think about the game like that, but even at the highest level, there are a lot of situations where a team can't figure something out. Famously, Liquid versus Astralis, where Astralis went B like 100 times and a half on overpass, and Liquid for the entire game could not figure out. A professional team of Liquid's caliber could not figure out how to deal with that exec. So don't outplay yourself by changing something that's good when you don't need to. And don't play spots that are uncomfortable with high utility that you can't use. And yeah, a lot of good stuff there. You guys have a good team. I really like your CT sides. I think you keep that going. And I see why you believe in the talent. I hope that's all helpful for you, Red. And of course, you can always message me on Patreon if you have any more questions. I got you. Appreciate that demo. I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. I loved making it. We're past an hour. It doesn't feel like an hour at all for me. So hopefully we get more demos requested soon because I enjoyed that. I love talking about the team aspect and everything. So yeah, see you on YouTube. It's going up at Tuesday, I believe. And we got a special video on Monday, got Glaive on Sunday, and then we got this going up on Tuesday. So I'll see you on Tuesday. Peace out.